Hey everybody, lunchtime chat today. We're still wrapping up our series on buyers. And today we've talked about all the different things in different videos, but I want to walk you through contract to close, step by step. So this is what to expect from contract to close as a buyer. Um, so so we've put in the contract. We talked about how to be competitive. We put in the contract. The seller said yes, or we negotiated. We got to an agreement, and so now you are under contract on a property, but you don't close and get the keys for 45 days, 30 to 45, depending on different factors. So 30 to 45 days till you get your keys. What happens in those days? Why do I have to wait? Okay, so let's talk about what happens. As soon as we're under contract, a lot of things are happening on my end. I'm making sure I have all the paperwork and all the pertinent signatures needed for every addendum and everything that goes with that contract. Hopefully we've already got that, but if there's VA addendum or anything extra like that, I'm going to make sure we, check on that and see if we need to get that taken care of. I'm going to be setting up inspections. So I'm going to set up whatever you decide what inspections you want. I'm going to recommend that you get a home inspection and that you get a radon test. I'm going to be setting, or you can set those up, or I can set those up. That's really, but I'm going to be, even if you're the one making the phone calls, I'm going to have to be the one coordinating with the listing agent, the timing, and all of that. So we're going to get those set up right away. We've only got 14 days to get those done, get the results in, and you decide if there's anything in it that is concerning or a deal breaker for you, or anything that you want to request we get fixed. So we're getting those contracts. We have 2 weeks usually to get those inspections done. We're getting them set up. We're getting the termite inspection also set up during that time. If you're using a VA loan, you have to have a termite inspection. We've probably negotiated for the seller to pay for it, but it's happening. We're getting that set up so that it happens during that 2-week time frame as well. Quick note on the contract or on the inspections. You're paying for the inspections except for the termite inspection. If we have negotiated for the seller to pay for that, under normal circumstances, you are out of pocket for the inspection, the radon test. Those are due at the time of service. So, we might be able to negotiate them being paid at closing, but most of the time the inspectors want those paid when the service is provided. So plan to pay for those right away. Have that budgeted. It runs about around $400 for the inspection, about $125, $150 for the radon test, depending on who you go through. So plan for about $500 to $600 to cover those inspections. If you feel the need to get a septic system inspection, or if you're required to, that might be extra. If you decide you want to get a plumbing inspection, if you want to get the HVAC inspected by an HVAC specialist, if there's any specialist you want to bring in, that's also out of pocket for you. So just plan on that in the budget. Okay, so we're getting inspections done, and we're deciding, what our response to those inspections are. That's all stuff we will talk about in detail throughout the process. If there's any repairs that you feel like need to be done, or you're not, or it's a deal breaker for you, we're going to send that to the seller. We're going to negotiate with them to get those things done. Hopefully they're going to respond. We're going to get that cleared up. And then if there's anything they've agreed to, they're going to go ahead and start the process of getting that finished, because it's supposed to be finished by closing. The lender is going to order the appraisal if you're doing a loan that requires an appraisal, or if you're choosing to have an appraisal. The same thing goes for with a survey. If you want a survey done, you are going to need to coordinate that and pay for that up front. So if the lender requires an appraisal, the lender's going to order the appraisal. That's something they do on their end. Back to money, depending on the lender, you may be required to pay for that up front, or they may do a credit card hold up front. If they charge you up front, usually the appraisals and closing costs, if they charge you up front, they're going to credit you at closing for that you've already paid for. So it'll all be reflected on that final statement from closing. So the appraisal is going to get ordered. It's going to get completed. The appraiser, I believe, has 10 days from the order date till they submit the report. And then if there's any repairs or anything from appraiser, we're going to go back to the sellers and renegotiate with that. If there's a price, isn't the same, is too low, or what is the price for is lower than the price, we're going to renegotiate that. If they require any repairs, we're going to negotiate that. And we're going to get that taken care of. And those repairs have to happen before closing as well. So those will start happening. So this is all In the meantime, title is doing their title research. They're making sure you're going to get a clean, clear title. They're finding out if there's anybody other than the mortgage company that they need to pay off from the proceeds to make sure that you get a good title. Your lender is doing their paperwork, and you're getting everything, hopefully really quickly at the beginning of this process. You're getting everything that the lender has requested, all the documents and paperwork that they need to go ahead and process your loan. That's going to underwriting. We're waiting for them to give us the clear to close on their end. We're waiting for all of the inspections, repairs, appraisers to all be wrapped up. Everybody needs to be on the same page. And that's why it takes a little bit of time, because there's a lot of different moving parts and a lot of different people involved that we need to make sure we're communicating with and who are all getting that. 3 days before closing, at least 3 days before closing, you're going to get a final closing estimate from your lender. And that has to be closed 3 days before, or has to be signed 3 days before closing. So if you missed the email and you didn't get it signed, it could delay closing because it has to be completed. And it has to be signed 3 days or more before closing, no less than 3 days before closing. And there can't be any changes. If there's changes, then again, it's going to delay closing. So make sure you're checking your email at all times. Make sure you're opening, reading, and answering emails from me, emails from my administrative assistant, who I'll introduce you to, emails from your lender or anybody on your lender's team if they have a team. So just make sure you're finding out who might be emailing you from those places and what their email addresses are, so that we're in your safe senders list, so that you're getting them in your inbox and that you're looking at them, reading them, and responding or signing as needed. You might even want to follow up and say, hey, I think I signed it. I just want to make sure you got it and everything's good, especially on that final closing disclosure, because again, that can delay closing if it's not finished. And we don't want to delay closing. So other things that can delay would be inspection issues, things like that. Now, the day before closing, or maybe the day of closing, that morning, depending on your schedule and other factors, we're going to do a final walkthrough of the property. We're going to verify visually that any repairs you requested or any repairs required by the appraisal are done. We'll also have documentation of those repairs, but we're going to, get a visual. You're going to make sure that it is swept clean. They shouldn't be leaving trash in the house. The seller shouldn't be leaving trash in the house, shouldn't be filthy. Now, this is not necessarily a white glove clean, but it should at least be in a swept clean condition. All of their stuff should be out of the house. There should not be any trash left, like I said. And it should be in the same condition you viewed it in originally. When you put in the offer, it was in a certain condition. If there is damage that did not exist when you put in the offer, that's something that we can, address. If there's now sometimes damage is hidden behind furniture, but if there's a big hole in the wall where you're sure there wasn't a hole before, then we're going to talk about that with them, because that is not how it should be. So that's the final walkthrough, and then we're going to go to closing. Hopefully I will be able to attend closing with you, hand you the keys, and celebrate with you during that. Right now, due to COVID, some of the title companies are asking that agents not be present at closing, just to keep the number of people to the absolute minimum necessary. But you're going to go to closing. You're going to sign with a pen, because you've digitally signed a lot of stuff up to this point. You're going to sign with a pen. All this paperwork, and depending on how much paperwork you sign with a pen, depends on the lender and the title and all kinds of things. So it could be 20 pages, it could be 100 pages. It's hard to say. And they're going to finalize it. So actually at closing, everything is not finalized. We're usually able to do keys at closing, but there might be a little bit of a lag. So what happens is you close, they go record it with the county or with the city, and then they send all the paperwork over to the lender for their approval. They're going to look through it. They're going to approve everything, and then the lender is going to fund or give the permission to fund all of the people involved in the transaction. So if you're getting any cash back at closing, then you're going to have to come back to the title company, pick up that check, or give them an address to mail it to. The seller's getting funded at that point. Anybody else who needs to be paid for anything the mortgage is going to get paid off, the old mortgage and all that. Is going to get funded. And then one last note, this video is kind of long, sorry about that. One last note on what to expect is your first mortgage payment will be due on the 1st of the month, a full month after you've closed. So if you close November 15th, your first payment is going to be January 1st. If you close February 15th, your first payment is going to be April 1st. So you get a full month, and then whatever is the remainder of the current month before your first payment is due. And we'll just talk about more in a little bit of detail when we're at that point. But hopefully that is useful information to give you an idea what to expect. There's, like I said, lots of moving parts, lots of people involved. I do my best to, well, I don't do my best. I do coordinate everything, make sure everybody's on the same page, make sure every T is crossed and I is dotted as it needs to be, and get all of the inspections and everything handled so that hopefully there isn't a whole lot you'll need to worry about during that period. But there are, just so you know, there's a lot of things going on and there's going to be a lot of communication back and forth. So, but we will get you to the closing table and with the best possible outcome. So let me know if you have any questions, and I hope that was helpful. If you want more information like this, check out our Savvy Home Buyer group on Facebook, and I hope to see you there.